Hello everyone, and as always, welcome to a overview for the Tier 9 French MBT, the Leclarc. Funny enough, France has these today, and so does the United Arab Emirates and Qatar, I think. This has the fastest firing 120mm in the game, except for perhaps the Thunderbolt. Has incredibly high damage per minute, it's relatively fast, and it has armor comparable to the Leopard 2A6. However, unlike the Leopard 2A6, this thing can't really hold down as well, so it functions more as a surgical tool. And in comparison to the Tier 10, it doesn't really feel as overpowered, but still very powerful regardless. So as always, as with every other French vehicle, we're going to have a look at the upgrade section first, and there is a bunch of interesting upgrades you can get. So for the starters, you can get a armor crew cell, which reduces your damage to crew by 50%. Not really needed that much, but the enhanced maintenance kit, which increases your protection by 15%, and the Azure package, which gives you some ERA modules, well, generally speaking, the 450 hit point buff is basically worth it regardless of what happens. Apart from that, we have more of a choice. Here, the Leclarc also comes with an upgraded ammo rack in which you get 60 shots, which is genuinely speaking quite a lot. And then you have the choice between either more smoke grenades, you get more. Oh, the smoke grenades basically come in a 360 protection, such as with the O2 Revo, or a turret revive, or a turret drive. Now, generally speaking, if you're in PvE and such, the turret drive may come in more handy, but it was more of a PvP style. The experimental smoke grenades, the ability to cover you and your entire team from just about any angle, is pretty goddamn decent. Apart from that, is the choice between a soft kill APS and a 120mm gun. Now, in comparison to the first 120, which has, I believe, the same damage but only 720 pen, the extra 80mm pen will allow you to go through just about any other Tier 9 and through most Tier 10s as well, including the Object 490. So, obviously, that's a no-brainer. However, the choice between an automatic hard kill APS and an autoloader is a lot more stringent, but generally speaking, you want to go with firepower. This vehicle is pretty much relying on its fast-firing 120mm gun for its defense and attack, so the autoloader is... that's it really. Apart from that, you have a choice between an improved fire control system and shock absorbers. The turning speed, generally speaking, I found to be pretty much decent anyway, so the improved FCS is pretty much gone. Apart from that, you also get a gunner sight and the choice between customized transmission, which gives the ability to reverse at 38 km an hour. Very good right there. If you're on a reverse slope, you can literally go all the way straight down, or high explosive shells. Well, who the fuck takes HE anymore? So that. And then lastly, there's a choice between an improved turbine, which increases your acceleration by 15% and your hold traverse, or an improved thermal sight, and well, that's up to you really. And lastly speaking, rubber coated tracks, which reduces your camo factor in motion by 50%. It allows you to sneak up on MBTs, but against AFEs, light tanks and TDs with spotting, well, that's a given. And then lastly, you get a choice between the improved suspension or the cooling system. I went for the improved suspension, obviously. So, apart from that, as we can see here, the 600 damage, 800 pen, 7,227 damage per minute. With Cortez, it's obviously a lot more, and a amazing 4.98 second reload time. Defense-wise, the Leclarc has 3,350, roughly equal to the 2A6 and whatnot. And also composite armor and everything, but the hull is relatively squishy, and the turret, well, it's not really completely accurate, but at the very least, its turret sides does give you some protection versus autocannons and AP shells, as I found out. Lastly, the mobility of the Leclarc, 72 km an hour, 3.13 second 0 to 32, very good, 57 tons, so ramming this thing is going to be pretty much unpleasant, and a pretty decent hold traverse of 33, which you can improve, of course. Utility-wise, 17% camo, 465 meters on your view, again with this, which is pretty decent, and targeting a very crappy -8 gun depression, however, very good minimum spread, excellent aim time, and a very decent turret traverse. Comparing this to other NATO MBTs of the same tier, let's have a quick look, shall we? Leopard, M1A2, and of course the Macarthur. Now, as you can see here, it gets pretty much decent damage, 10 more than the Leopard and the M1A2. Very good penetration all around, second only to the Leopard. However, the completely high DPM completely beating out the Merkava 4, and otherwise, as you can see in the stats, hull points wise, pretty much equal to the Leopard 2A6 and the M1A2. A hell of a lot less than the Merkava and the Charlie, but then again, that's a differ. Second strongest hull armor here. Then I'm pretty much sure you can read this. Fastest tank, obviously. Camouflage is pretty decent as well, 17%, and pretty decent at move. Apart from that, its gun depression and elevation is absolutely shocking, and while it has pretty decent minimum spread, the rest beat it out. However, its aim time is very equal to the M1A2 and the Merc, and the turret traverse as well being pretty decent as well, being basically equal to the Leopard 2A6, but a little bit slower than the Merkava 4. Now, however, generally speaking, this thing kind of plays like if a Leopard 2A6 had sex with a T9 TMS, and, well, you know how babies work. So, let's compare it to the more DPM vehicles on the tier, such as the Uplot and the T9 TMS. With the Type 99 is not really included anymore. So, as you can see here, it loses to them in damage, with both of them able to hit around 704, with 660 being the Leclarc's highest damage with Cortez, obviously. It, however, has vastly higher pen and much higher alpha and much higher DPM. However, these two are still very much capable of beating down the Leclarc, as well as the Challenger and the Macarthur. The Macarthur's ready rack and the Challenger's high damage and very good armor, and of course the ridiculous amount of hit points. It does have more hit points than them, obviously, and to be honest, their turrets are better armoured for reasons that will be discussed later, and it is faster than both of them, but they are noticeably more agile vehicles, as well as having better camouflage. So, we can have a look at the armour, then we'll look at everything else. So, as you can see here, versus itself, the outer package doesn't really add much, except for some more stuff on the side, which, as you can see here, covers a pretty decent part of the tank, but side scraping is still a no-go. So, as you can see here, very rough armor layout similar to the Leopard 2A6, but the upper hull is a lot stronger. However, at close ranges, such as when face-hugging a Leclarc, you can very much penetrate it, in which the ammo rack isn't really that much of a good place. Pretty decent, well-armoured middle hull, but the lower hull is something to desire, with it reaching more of that Leopard-esque. And it is the worst hold down tank in a tier, with its very large turret ring, as you can see there, and the lower turret trajectories are also very weak as well, at just only 600mm thick. So tier 7's cannon will go through this thing. Not everything is bad though. Let's compare it to autocannon. A standard autocannon at tier 10. Let's compare it to the Draco, for instance. So the Draco with the XM rounds can find a Leclarc to be difficult to penetrate from the side on. The engine deck, of course, this is when comparing it to tanks such as the Macarthur, the Uplot, and the Leopard 2A6, with the armour of the side turret being roughly around 303, so it does take some advice out of the Abrams book. So against autocannons, such as the Leclarc T40 with its AP rounds of 210, which are one of the more higher pen ones, it can be difficult for it to penetrate its turret. However, that top part there is very noticeably hidden, but also quite easy to hit, as well as this part here, which is not so great. Apart from that, against missiles of its own tiers, such as those on the Crab of 1000 penetration, it is not really that great, but generally speaking, a move in Leclarc is still going to be relatively difficult to hit, and it may have an APS. Crew-wise, standard MBT stuff, acceleration, track repair time, and gunner, cannon hit points, and turret traverse speed. Generally speaking, there's only a couple of commanders you really want with this tank. Cortez is a pretty decent option, as the ability to maximise that DPM is always very good. However, given the fast reload, you don't really need to take him as much as you would need to do with other tier 9 MBTs. Apart from that, Fedor again is a pretty decent choice. Repair speed, aim speed, and turret traverse is quite nice as well, with other commanders such as Victor being a very decent pick as well, the ability to maximise your module damage and even more repair speed, almost 10 seconds after you bounce, after you get damaged, just about any kind of damage. That's always pretty decent as well. And apart from that, you also have the choice of the French commander, Vincent Girard, who gives you better aim speed, a pretty nice chunk of hit points, and of course the counter-attack reload speed as well, but that does rely on you bouncing hits, which isn't always the greatest thing in the world with Leclarc, if I'll be honest. Generally speaking, I wouldn't really pick Rachel or Philip. They're more NATO MBT style commanders, and generally speaking, Philip, not really so much. You have a lot less crew, and you do have that crew capsule, and Rachel's main thing is close combat, and generally speaking, your reload is going to be fast enough. Apart from that, Vincent is very much a better pick over Alicia, but you can pick Alicia. However, my Alicia is very much set up for the Object 490 now, so crew stats, please refer to others. So, for instance, she will probably take off the ammo and go for repair speed increase. So, pretty decent tank. Let's have a look at how it performs. One of the games will be with Cortez, and one of them will be Vincent. So, let's take a look. So for the first game, I am platooned with well, I'm not really platooned, but I'm here with Lord Randall, and I'm using Vincent with this one. So I get a hit point increase, and I get pretty good aim speed as well, at the cost of some accuracy at long range. So Randall over there is in the new French camouflage for Leclerc, and I have to say it looks very good. However, there's a dragon in the way. Now, some things to point out in this game is that the Leclerc's ability to shift is very good indeed, and it does come with some packages, some abilities such as engine boost, zero in, and reload. Generally speaking, your reload speed is already high enough. Zero in, you basically stop for having perfect accuracy, and this very much depends on moving, so engine boost is, to be honest, very much the way to go. The enemies and everything over there. Okay, well, it looks like we're moving into the right side. You can see here, hitting the top speed relatively quickly, and now we're going to see if we can go for the rest of the enemies. Now, the first part of this engagement is not really going to be that exciting, generally speaking. A Al Hussein, the tier 8, can actually be quite difficult to take out for a Leclerc, as well it does have the outstanding DPM. After all, you are only one tank, and unlike the other high DPM 120 vehicle in the game, the X103 it does not have the ready rack. So, generally speaking, picking fights, even with tier 8s, is a still pretty thing to go, as you only have a limited amount of hit points, and you don't really have that much armor. So the enemy over there, that Al Hussein at some point is going to be kept down by the rest of our team, which will allow me and Randall to move out. Unfortunately, I believe we both missed that VBR, but we'll catch up to him soon enough. So for now, let's keep going around this map. As this has been said multiple times at this point, the Leclerc is mobile enough to really shift, and you'll be the judge of whether or not Cortez would have been the better pick for this battle, as Cortez allows you to hit for maximum damage 100% of the time. And again, that's up to you really. 570, 657, Randall is using AP rounds again, and a pretty decent shot as well. So, given the fact that me and Randall are both friends, we're going to be pretty tight together for most of this game. We weren't actually in voice comms, but once you platooned up with somebody or know people who have the same playstyle and good at the game and are in pretty well-known clans, most of the time you're going to stick together anyway. So I'm going to flank this Ramka to see if he goes around. The Ramka's a pretty dangerous threat, even for a bunch of tier 9s. Hit points, missiles, and everything can be a real pain in the bitch, pain in the ass to take out. So we'll keep going around the map. Now, unfortunately, and generally speaking this map does tend to fall the same as the others. The rush B meta the Russians have been putting in is actually quite annoying, and it has made the Leclerc difficult to play for me, as constantly, as you can't play defense with it, it's just attack, 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 attack with these Ruskies. So, word to the wise there. Defending the Leclerc may be a bad idea. Now, I know my paint scheme may be awful, but the whole Urban Tiger paint scheme I've always wanted to have. And, well, screw you, I want it. So, going to be more of a battlefield use of the engine boost shortly. Leclarc T40 over there. They can do a hell of a lot of damage to this thing, and now there's a bunch of enemies. Leclerc over there, and doubtlessly he's got friends. So Randall and this Leo 284 Revo are going in. And now I'm simply going to smoke up 360, as you can see there. Very decent, very good actually. And a nice shot of the engine boost as well to keep going. Generally speaking, a 45-second time for the engine boost isn't really that long, so you can afford to spam it. But most of the time you're going to want it for going up hills, reversing out of harm's way, or simply when you want to rush B somebody. And as you can see at this point, this game has ended. But I've only done 2,200 damage, so now it's the time to more show off how quickly this thing can rack up the damage. So another Leclerc over there. Hey man, how's it going? Unfortunately, a heat shot missed there, but I do have his attention. Shot into the bit of the unmanned turret there. Unfortunately, I get hit by the javelin and he's dead. Okay, that's 3,000 damage. Cool. And now we've got to clear up the rest of them. There's only 4 tanks left. So let's see how we can keep doing this. So where's the rest of them? One of them's over there. Okay. I think we can do this. There's another Leclerc. Kind of unsure what he was doing. As you can see here, this is when the gun really starts to rack up damage. Another shot in. I don't really need to look at him at this point. Back up. Randall smoked for me. Thank you. And the high reverse speed allowed me to quickly reverse back. Taken 2 hits on that Leclerc now, obviously using Cortez, 2 hits in a row. And now it's time for me to simply beat up this T9 mess. Hey man, how's it going? Okay, I miss. Well, if I was in a Leopard, I may be scared, but in Leclerc, well, not so much. Tracking damage. Tracking damage. And that's another shot in. Good stuff. And so far it seems most things have gone relatively well. Unfortunately I miss. And not even this thing's reload is fast enough to go through. And well, you can imagine how this game is going to go. So let's have a look at another. So I'm on Narrows in a platoon with my friend Tank Sniper and Jeff. Jeff. Me and Tank Sniper are in our Leclercs and Jeff is in his Leo. And I think you'll agree this camo does look much better on Leclerc at this point. I also have a T4 with us as well. This is a tier game with no tier 9s. So the first thing we're going to do is Tank is going to go up and me and Jeff are going to go into this bottom here. The Leclerc does excel at, generally speaking, staying around the back a little. As well, it's a very fantastic brawler. The ability to make the most of its DPM is something you really want. Now, just give it a couple of seconds and the enemy will turn up. Jeff is here, of course. And I believe this will make a lovely screenshot. Lovely doubly. Anyway, as the enemy team is over there, this map can get weird. I believe, imagine if this thing didn't have the extra 450 hit points this ball liner gives you. Things could get a little bit weird, but at the very least, this kind of map, well, you know where North Team goes. North Team pushes a lot. So, the accuracy at long range can suffer a bit. We'll know soon enough. I am not using Vincent, I'm using Cortez, so every shot will be max damage. Getting hit again, 360 degree smoke, very useful as said before. And well, generally speaking, this is a very fun tank to play. In PvE, I haven't really played it in PvE yet, unlike the Leclerc T4, so I don't really give it much of an opinion. but if its armor model is anything like it, it should be pretty decent. However, as said multiple times, I do not believe its armor model is as good as the Leclarc T4, as the turret cheeks can be penetrated very easily, so it's very likely the AI will go for them. Neither have I taken this thing to Glocks, as Tier 9s generally speaking don't have a particularly good time in Glocks. Nice damage. I believe we're using Cortez now, probably. Just gotta wait for a while. No. At the very least, having a 60 round capacity is very good. And while we continue sniping, I've played quite a few games in Leclarc. I've played about 18 in PvP in the last 2 days. And while a lot of them were losses, I was able to pretty much figure out that this thing excels at being able to redeploy on maps. As it's high speed, good acceleration, and pretty nice agility means it's able to quickly redeploy to places unlike other Tier 9s such as the M1A1, such as the M1A2, and and the Merkava, and of course the Challenger as well. So if you're on a Leclerc, don't be afraid to play Mount and Go. The only real bad thing with this thing's redeploying is the fact that its gun depression absolutely sucks balls, so you've got that to deal with. I was at this point spotted again, 3300 damage, pretty decent. Leclerc over there, the Leclerc's turret side can be difficult to pen at times, unfortunately. Obviously it may not be that issue with a Leopard or more accurate tanks. Generally speaking, I think this thing could probably use like a reload nerf or something. Around 6 seconds would be fine. And perhaps maybe a bit of an accuracy nerf as well, as this thing does feel a little bit too strong when facing other Tier 9s, as its DPM allows them to happily overpower them. Leclerc over there, as you can see here, its accuracy isn't the best in the world, as said. Maybe it could be a little bit worse to emphasise what this thing is supposed to be played as, and now at some point we need to redeploy, as Jeff and Tank are going to have to deal with their own Leclerc. So, redeploying time, as you can see here, this thing can shift very well. Oh, lovely jubbly. So, redeploy, Leclerc over there. And as you're going to see soon enough, this thing's gun depression isn't too good. As you can see in the sniper mode here. And in fact, on hills like this, when Leopard or an Abrams may be able to get fully over or simply go hold down on, this thing cannot. So that -2 really does help quite a lot. So Jeff over there is going to go all the way over. Now keep in mind I have to go over significantly further than he does to be able to hit that Leclerc. He's going to hit me with heat. While the Leclerc can pen itself with heat, it's not really that recommended, as generally speaking, ERA, 700mm middle plate, not the greatest in the world. So let's keep going across the map, and we're pretty sure we've won at this point, but there's still a couple of enemies lying around. Shot taken into that guy, didn't really do too well, but okay, fair enough. And that Leclerc is over there, so now, and he's very likely to win with that ulti, and thanks to having the engine boost, I can happily scurry up this mountain and go for him. Leclerc, generally speaking, I feel it's a lot easier to use than the AMXs of the lower tiers, just thanks to the DPM and everything, as well as the fact that it's faster. It can be still pretty fun. See here, very fast reloading means that Panzer guy, who's not in a BMPT for once, is gonna simply run. So at this point in time, my Fox senses were tingling. I was reasonably sure that the Leclerc was actually going to come all the way around to see if he could flank me. I believe he may have been mistaken that everybody else had moved off. So I come around this part, pretty much certain that he was going to be there. And, well, what'd you know? Hey, how's it going? unfortunately it bounced, but Tank is going to get a shot in, and I believe I'll kill him. And, well, that's all. And, well, you know how this game is going to turn out. It's pretty much 3 minutes of running after a Sphinx, so I'm not going to bore you with showing you the entire video. So, let's have a look at those post-game stats. So, for the first game, a pretty respectable 6,027 damage dealt. At least 1 shot's done to those guys, done at 2 in a 240, and 2 done to everyone else, with 3,000 damage assistance. Second on the team, with Randall taking the top spot, probably because he has a couple more kills than I do, but I believe a pretty respectable game overall. 2,400 mitigated damage caused, 6,000 damage total, and a total potential damage of 8,000. No damage mitigated unfortunately, but some received. And as you can see here, the struggle to get good games in Leclarc was very real. Apart from that, Narrow's game, 6.5k damage done, very nice indeed. Second highest damage in the team, third highest damage in the game overall, with a Leclarc taking second spot and a Cornet taking top. Very nice. Total potential damage done would have been 10,000, but that's okay I guess. And even then some damage bounced, which is always nice. So, is this a fun tank? Yes, it is, and I do highly recommend at least spending the token to be able to unlock it, as I've had nothing more than a blast while they're playing this. Haven't really played it in PvE or Glops yet, but at the very least in PvP this is a very strong tank for its tier. And overall speaking, the only thing it really needs is a bit of a reload nerf. So that's it for the overview of the Tier 9 Leclarc. The last vehicle I have to record at this point is going to be the Vab Mistito. The Vab Misbib, I don't fucking know. And of course, while I'm recording this, I will be currently in Ohio, Oregon, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, there we go. So, yeah. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little overview guys, and at the very least to show you a little bit of the potential of what this thing can do. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all for the Vab review. Yay!